Inspiring moment exposed, Millionaire CEO discovers a poor mother with her baby facing rejection. In a world dictated by flashing screens and dollar signs, Sarah fought the tide. She was a 30-year-old single mom, pushing her limits every single day. 3 jobs at once: waitressing, cleaning houses, and stocking shelves. Every sleepless night, her soul burned with fierce determination, her heart swelling for one little being, Olivia. A wave of only a few years had turned the carefree young woman she once was into a resilient warrior. But that fight often felt invisible in a bustling suburban town where whispers brushed against her like winter's chill, leaving her feeling small and alone. One hectic afternoon, balancing Olivia against her hip and a grocery list in her mind, Sarah rushed through the aisles. The list was heavy with necessities, and her heart sank as she fumbled in her pocket for coins. Olivia, her bright-eyed girl, chose this perfect moment to wail. The weight of her reality sank in deeper. Every coin felt like a gold nugget. She tried to soothe her baby, but the frantic cries made her feel like a failure. Around her, busy shoppers barely noticed her struggle, their eyes glued to their phones or darting past her with indifference. Then, Mark appeared. He was different than the usual crowd. Dressed in a tailored suit, he carried the confident air of a millionaire CEO, the embodiment of success. But as he watched Sarah, something inside him shifted. He remembered the days of dining on beans and fighting just to keep the lights on. There was a flicker of connection, nostalgia in Sarah's hard work and love. He approached, a question burning in his chest. "Can I help?" he asked, his voice laced with unexpected warmth. Sarah stopped, momentarily taken aback. She felt the world shrink around them. The hustle of the grocery store faded as her heart raced. Help? Wasn't he that just charity given to those deemed less than? She studied his face, searching for ulterior motives. For Mark, though, this was no game, it was a longing to reconnect with something genuine. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tension spiked as more eyes turned their way, suspicion hanging in the air like thick fog. Mark suggested supporting her education, helping her find a way to achieve her dreams. The offer burned brightly in Sarah's mind, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. But could she truly accept help without feeling like she'd surrendered? Part of Sarah wanted to shove that offer away, yet another part of her whispered that this was not just about her anymore, this was for Olivia too. Around them, the whispers of judgment became louder in Mark's ears. Peers questioned his intent, urging him to stay within the comforts of his status and wealth. The fight within him brewed, battling the guilt of being privileged against a genuine desire to lift someone up. They stood face to face, each wrestling with their own demons. The stakes rose higher than the aisles around them. Would Sarah find strength in accepting help, or would pride let her slip through the cracks? Mark felt the weight of both worlds pressing down on him, forcing each to contemplate their next move. What would be the consequences of this crucial decision? Answers hung heavy in the air, setting the stage for a clash of lives transformed by society's expectations and the genuine desire for connection. The moment hung between them, electric with possibility. Sarah felt the weight of her world pressing down on her chest. If she accepted, it meant embracing a different future, one where her hard work could yield more than mere survival. But what if she faltered? The vulnerability clawed at her throat, but behind the fear was a flicker of hope. Mark's eyes searched hers, reflecting a kindness that almost felt foreign. "I understand if you're hesitant," he began, but Sarah cut him off, the words bubbling up before she could think twice. "I'm not hesitant because of you," she said, her voice soft but sturdy. "I'm just scared. Scared that I'll be taking advantage of your kindness." The honesty startled her. It was as if she had put forth a shield, and now he held the sword. Mark shook his head, a small smile ghosting across his lips. It's not charity, it's opportunity. I'm not offering to pull you up because I think you can't do it yourself. I see your fight. You deserve this chance. His intensity washed over her, stirring feelings she had long buried beneath layers of resignation and pride. Around them, the chatter of the grocery store ebbed and flowed, but for Sarah, everything quieted into a vacuum. The bustling world had turned into mere background noise, fading away as if they were in their own bubble. With Olivia fussing against her hip, Sarah fought the quiver of her lips. All she'd ever wanted was to give her daughter a better life, yet her stubbornness held her back. She felt suffocated by the fear of dependency but equally grieved the life of struggle, worrying if the next paycheck would cover rent, if her daughter would have enough to eat. What if I fail? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice. What if you don't? What if this is the beginning of something amazing? You're not just a poor mother. You're a survivor. You work harder than most will ever know. Imagine what you could do with a little support. The words wrapped around her, forming a lifeline she didn't know she needed. Could she really build a future? Could this man be trusted, or was he just another player in a world that scoffed at those below? Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, but she blinked them away, not wanting to appear vulnerable before him. You don't even know me, she murmured. Her heart raced, a storm of emotions swirling within. Mark chuckled, a smooth sound that contrasted sharply with the tension. I know enough. I'm tempted to say I see you more clearly than most. It's time for you to see yourself the same way. Just then, an elderly woman, pushing her cart nearby, paused and nodded approvingly. That girl has fire, young man. Don't let her get away, she said, her voice weathered but full of wisdom. Sarah's face flushed with both embarrassment and an odd sense of pride, realizing others were watching. Mark caught her gaze and smiled gently, urging her to consider the leap. The chaotic store faded away, leaving only the weight of choice hanging between them. Sarah inhaled sharply, glancing down at Olivia, filled with resolve. This decision felt monumental, and for the first time, the prospect of possibility flickered like a beacon. Maybe help didn't mean weakness. Maybe it could ignite the spark that had dimmed over the years. I'll think about it, she said finally, her voice steady. Mark's smile widened, but just then, a piercing cry erupted from her daughter. Olivia's tiny hands waved, demanding attention. The moment fractured under the weight of reality, yet the spark of connection lingered like soft embers. As she balanced the chaos of motherhood with the possibilities of help, Sarah's heart felt lighter, filled with a strength she hadn't acknowledged before. But would she have the courage to cross that line when it came time to decide? In that grocery aisle, two lives hung in the balance. What was about to unfold would change everything for both of them, prompting Sarah to question the very fabric of pride, responsibility, and what it truly meant to accept help. With uncertainty thick in the air, one fundamental question loomed: was she ready to embrace the future, or would the weight of fear anchor her in place? A rush of noise pulled Sarah back to the frantic pace of the store as Olivia's cries escalated. She quickly adjusted her hold on her daughter, rubbing her tiny back in a futile attempt to soothe her. As the chaos of the moment wrapped around them, Mark reached out tentatively, his fingers brushing against Olivia's cheek, an innocent gesture full of warmth. She's hungry, Sarah said, her voice steadying as she tried to regain composure. The reality of motherhood slammed into her, reminding her of the weight of her choices. It was not just her future at stake, it was Olivia's too. Mark nodded, understanding flickering in his eyes. Let us get you both home. We can talk more there, if you're comfortable. His suggestion was practical, calming even. All right, she said, glancing at the items in her cart, still needing milk and bread. With a mix of hesitation and need, she replied, but let me just grab a few things first. Together, they moved through the aisles, weaving between shoppers who seemed oblivious to their moment. Sarah started piling her cart with essentials, her mind racing as she thought about the conversations ahead. Could she really admit her fears? Would it feel like defeat? With each item she added, the weight of her pride chipped away. Mark's presence was simply comforting. He chatted occasionally with Olivia, making silly faces, earning a few giggles from her. Watching their interaction nudged Sarah's heart. But old habits died hard. I don't want to be a burden, she finally voiced, her breath catching slightly as she spoke. Then don't think of it that way, he countered, his voice firm yet soothing. This is about partnership, about growing together. You're strong, Sarah. But even the strongest need help sometimes. Turning towards him, she let out a shaky laugh, the tension easing a bit. Do you ever feel like you're trying to hold up the world? Sure, he shrugged. But I've learned to lean on my team when I need to. It's not weakness, it's smart. Life becomes easier when we accept support. You're not alone. The sincerity in his voice stirred something in her. Maybe there was some truth to this partnership he spoke of. What would it feel like to share the weight of her dreams, her fears? As they checked out, Sarah noticed the way people glanced at her and Mark. Whispers, admiration, perhaps pity. She felt exposed. But perhaps exposure wasn't the enemy, maybe it was what she had feared all along, connection. Shuffling out of the store with groceries and Olivia in her arms, a patch of sunlight broke through the gray clouds outside. It cast a warm glow on their faces. The brisk air was a welcome escape, mingling with the scent of fresh bakery goods wafting from the nearby cafe. Here, Mark said, taking a bag from her, I can help. He fell into step beside her, his casual demeanor wrapping her in shared burdens. Thank you, she replied quietly, but the words were heavy with unspoken gratitude. Stepping closer to him, she couldn't shake the question that lingered, what would accepting his help truly mean? As they approached her apartment, the reality began to settle in. This was the moment for a decision. Trust was a fragile thing. Would she take the leap of faith? Or would she cling to the comforts of her struggle? Sarah paused at her front door, taking a deep breath, aware that this decision held more power than she could fathom. The flickering spark of hope was intertwined with fear, and she wasn't ready to snuff it out. The door felt heavier than usual. Mark stood beside her, waiting for her answer, the possibilities echoing in her mind. As she reached for the handle, the weight of choice pressed against her chest. This was at the crossroads. Would she finally embrace the future waiting just beyond her door? With a deep breath, Sarah finally turned the doorknob and stepped inside her apartment. The familiar scent of home greeted her like an old friend, though it now felt different, tinged with uncertainty. She glanced back at Mark, who followed closely behind, and closed the door softly behind them. The stillness enveloped them, a stark contrast to the chaos of the outside world. Sarah felt the weight of the moment press down, and Olivia, now calm but curious, shifted in her arms, looking between her mother and Mark as if sensing the unspoken questions hanging in the air. Do you want me to hold her while you set things down? Mark offered, his voice a gentle nudge that brought Sarah back into focus. She hesitated, then nodded, handing Olivia over cautiously. The small girl's face lit up with a smile as Mark cradled her, his expression softening instantly. As Sarah watched them, warmth pooled in her chest, mingling with a dread that whispered doubts. Do you want something to drink while she started, feeling the need to break the tension? Just water is fine, he replied, already busy bouncing Olivia softly, making her giggle. Sarah moved to the kitchen, grabbing a glass and filling it from the pitcher in the refrigerator. Each step felt like she was crossing a bridge, moving further away from her old self and closer to the new reality she was almost terrified to accept. Your apartment's nice, Mark called from the living room, his voice filled with genuine admiration. It feels cozy. Thanks, Sarah responded, glancing back at him, considering how easy it seemed for him to compliment her. Simple, like friendship was supposed to be. When she returned with the glass of water, she found Mark sitting on the couch, the baby nestled in the crook of his arm. Olivia cooed happily, her small fingers tugging playfully at Mark's shirt. The sight tugged at Sarah's heartstrings, and she felt a sudden rush of gratitude for this man sitting on her couch, sharing a moment that felt precious. Do you like kids?" Sarah asked, hoping it didn't come out too awkwardly. Struggling for common ground, the conversation felt both important and daunting. Mark met her gaze, and there was a pause, a flicker of something deeper in his expression. "I love them. I think they see the world different. Everything is magical. And they remind us of what really matters." She considered his words, how insightful they were, and how rare it felt to have this kind of connection over something so profound. Could sharing her burdens mean allowing him to help her carry this weight? Could she dare to think of him as part of her life, Olivia's life? Sarah found herself sitting down in the armchair, the very one that had seen many late-night feedings and tears. "I haven't really thought about anyone in a long time," she admitted, looking down as if embarrassed. Mark shifted, setting Olivia down on the couch with a few toys, then leaning forward. "That makes sense. You've had a lot on your plate." He paused, letting the silence stretch between them, the tension morphing from heavy to hopeful. "But it doesn't have to be just you anymore, Sarah. You deserve to lean on someone." She met his eyes, a mix of hope and hesitation swirling within. Was she really ready for that? The mere thought was electrifying yet terrifying. The air filled with an unspoken understanding, and Sarah felt the boundaries of her heart stretching, pushing against the walls she had built so carefully. "What if I fail in trusting you?" she whispered. Mark's steady gaze held hers, filled with sincerity. "But what if you find something beautiful? Something unexpected?" The question lingered, hanging in the room like a promise and a challenge at the same time. As Sarah looked at Mark, a flicker of understanding danced between them. With the shadows of doubt still lingering, she realized she stood at the brink of a leap, a chance at transformation, companionship, and vulnerability. What would happen if she took that leap? As Olivia giggled again, trying to balance herself on Mark's knee, Sarah felt the stirrings of courage bloom within her. But could she truly embrace that feeling? The answer hung in the air, waiting for her to unravel it. What if this was just the beginning? Sarah took a sip of her water, the cold liquid contrasting with the warmth spreading in her chest. She studied Mark, amazed by how someone she'd only known in passing could evoke such a strong response. The tension hanging between them felt like a taut string, ready to snap or resonate, depending on her next move. As Olivia played, completely absorbed in her toys, Sarah felt the moment stretch, filled with possibilities. The unease that used to tighten her throat started to give way to curiosity, and what-ifs danced through her mind like fireflies. "Tell me more about you," she said softly, her voice breaking the silence. "You mentioned you love kids. Is there a reason behind it?" Mark's smile widened, a spark igniting in his eyes. "I grew up in a big family. My younger siblings were always around, and I found so much joy in it. I guess I just want to create that same kind of warmth and community for others. You know, a safe place." His words resonated with her, deepening the connection that already felt fragile yet potent. "I want that too," she found herself admitting. "After everything, I don't want Olivia to just exist. I want her to feel loved, to feel like she belongs." Mark nodded, his brow furrowing thoughtfully. "Parents have an incredible impact. I see how you look at her. She's everything to you, isn't she? It's beautiful." Sarah felt heat rush to her cheeks. "She is. But some days, I feel like I'm terrible at this. I try to be strong for her, and it's exhausting." Mark shifted closer, his gaze unwavering. "You're not alone in this, Sarah. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It doesn't make you a bad mother. It just makes you human." His words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, and for the first time in a long while, she felt seen and understood. But then, doubt crept back in. "But what if I can't manage? What if I end up dragging you down with me?" "Then we figure it out together," he replied, voice steady like a lighthouse guiding her home. "I don't want to be some hero in your story. I want to walk alongside you, share the burdens, and celebrate the joys. A knot of emotion tightened in her throat. As the laughter of her daughter filled the space, she realized that she had been holding on tightly to the idea of doing it all alone. Maybe, just maybe, there was strength in allowing someone else in. What if I let you? What if I let anyone? She mused aloud, testing the thought. Mark leaned back slightly, giving her room to breathe. That's where the magic happens, Sarah. Trust isn't a blanket decision. It's built layer by layer, with every shared moment. And sometimes, the biggest risks open the door to the most beautiful relationships. She swallowed hard, weighing his words. Leaning back in her chair, she caught Mark's gaze locked onto hers, a comforting anchor amidst the whirlpool of her emotions. It's terrifying, she confessed, a genuine vulnerability spilling over. I've been hurt before. I don't want to repeat those mistakes. I understand. Mark's eyes softened, and she felt cared for in a way she hadn't in years. But healing starts with trying. And you deserve to heal. Olivia squealed again, causing both of them to chuckle. In that moment, Sarah finally understood that their lives could intertwine without sacrificing her independence. Maybe I could try, she whispered, as if testing the waters of hope. Mark's smile grew warmer, eyes sparkling with encouragement. That's all it takes, Sarah. Just a little willingness to embrace the uncertainty. Together, we can shape something real, something lasting. Sarah's heart raced as she contemplated what that could mean. As she looked at Olivia, her sweet daughter oblivious to the weight of the world, a small part of Sarah welcomed the idea of a safe harbor. What if she could find a balance between vulnerability and strength? But the real questions hung in the air. Would she really take that leap? Or would fear keep her chained to her past? All she knew was that somewhere deep inside, a flicker of belief began to glow. What could it mean to her, to Olivia, if she dared to trust? And as shadows began to stretch across the room with the setting sun, Sarah realized this was just the beginning. What would she discover as she drew nearer to that uncertain future? As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, painting the walls with hues of orange and purple, Sarah felt an undeniable shift within her. She watched Olivia, her daughter's carefree laughter spilling into the room like music, each giggle pulling at her heartstrings. Mark's presence was comforting, a steady rhythm accompanying the chaos that often filled her days. She had always been fiercely protective of her little family, yet here he was, offering not just friendship, but the prospect of something deeper. Olivia's amazing, Mark said, his voice smooth as he leaned back in his chair. You've done a great job with her. He's only saying that because he feels sorry for me, Sarah thought, quickly pushing that self-deprecating thought away. Yet, his sincerity broke through her defenses. She wasn't used to such open praise. What do you think she'll grow up to be? Mark asked, genuinely curious. Sarah considered this. I hope she'll be kind, maybe someone who feels safe enough to chase her dreams, whatever they may be. But will she be safe if I'm scared of everything? If I hold on too tightly? The realization hit her hard, and she bit her lip, trying to suppress the rising tide of fear. Mark shifted in his seat, tilting his head slightly. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just be there for her. Let her see you trying. That's your strength. His words settled over her like a warm embrace, igniting her hope. She could see a glimpse of a future filled with laughter and adventure, not just for Olivia, but for herself. I want to be that mother, she admitted, vulnerability spilling out like water from an overflowing cup. But I don't know if I can. You can, he insisted, his voice unwavering. Look at how far you've come already. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Each step counts. She gazed into his eyes, their depths filled with compassion. The kind she had thought was lost to her. What if I fail? Mark smiled softly. What if you fly? His question hung in the air, echoing the underlying promise of what could be. The idea of flight was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Her heart thudded against her ribs as a smile slowly crept across her face, warming her from the inside. In that moment, as Olivia energetically shuffled her toys, Sarah's walls began to crumble. Maybe she didn't need to hold on so tightly. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to let go. Okay, she found herself saying, a tentative decision that felt monumental. I'll let you in. I will try to trust. Mark's expression brightened, revealing a mix of surprise and delight. That's the spirit. Just remember, I'm here with you. As laughter filled the room again, there was a spark in Sarah's chest, brighter than before. The idea of shared burdens shifted into view, and she felt the space between them close slightly. Yet, in the back of her mind, a whisper lingered. Trust wasn't an easy gift. The specters of her past loomed large. What if her decision left her exposed once more? Suddenly, Olivia let out a triumphant squeal, holding up a toy high in the air. Look, Mommy! The joy in her daughter's face mirrored back at her, a beacon of innocence and hope. Sarah smiled, warning thoughts momentarily forgotten. See? Mark said, his voice rich with pride. You're already succeeding. Just keep being you. As the evening progressed, laughter and warmth filled the air, but the uncertainty remained lingering like a shadow waiting to be acknowledged. What challenges would arise as they walked this path together? Could she really embrace the light while fearing the dark? The answers danced just out of reach, teasing the edges of her mind, a call to explore the new journey ahead. And as the stars began to poke through the night sky, Sarah closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Was she finally ready to buckle up and ride the roller coaster of life alongside Mark, or would the ghosts of her past pull her back into the shadows? The next morning arrived quietly, the day cloaked in a soft gray mist that hung in the air like a lingering dream. Sarah woke to the familiar sounds of Olivia babbling in her crib, alive with the innocent curiosity of a child. The lingering warmth from the previous night wrapped around her, but as she swung her legs over the side of the bed, unease began to creep in. What did I promise myself? She murmured to herself, rubbing her eyes. To trust, to let people in. With each step toward Olivia, the weight of her decision pressed against her chest. She reached the crib, and Olivia's eyes lit up with pure joy, her smile brighter than the sun that peeked through the window. Good morning, my little sunshine. Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. As she lifted Olivia into her arms, she felt a surge of warmth wash over her. Today is going to be different, she whispered to her daughter, her own heartbeat steadying in the presence of that sweet smile. After breakfast, Sarah and Olivia headed to the nearby park. Fresh air filled her lungs, invigorating her. As they approached the playground, she spotted Mark sitting on a bench, a warm cup of coffee in hand. He looked up and smiled, a genuine light in his eyes. Hey! I wasn't sure if you two would make it today. He stood, taking a few steps closer. Thought we'd embrace the day, Sarah replied, trying to sound casual, even as butterflies danced in her stomach. Good call, he said, glancing around the park. The fresh air will do us all good. They settled into a rhythm, sharing small talk as Olivia dashed toward the swings. Sarah couldn't help but notice how easily Mark engaged with her daughter, effortlessly drawing out giggles and screams of joy. See how much fun she is having. Mark said, his eyes sparkling. You're doing a great job, Sarah. His words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, but just as quickly, doubt flickered at the edges. What if she is too attached to me? Sarah found herself saying aloud, the worry slipping through her lips before she could mask it. What if I mess this up? Mark paused, the laughter fading from his eyes. Every kid has to feel safe to explore, and that starts with you, trusting yourself and her. Trust again, she echoed quietly, a shiver passing through her. Mark looked at her, his expression earnest. You're not alone. I'm here. Just then, Olivia bounded back, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mommy! Look!" She held out a handful of petals she had gathered, shining with dew and promise. "Those are beautiful, sweetheart," Sarah said, crouching to meet her eye level. "Like a rainbow," Olivia shouted, her joy infectious. "Exactly. Just like a rainbow," Sarah giggled, letting her heart swell with pride. Mark watched them, an appreciative smile on his face. In that moment, something inside Sarah shifted again, lessening the choke of fear. Could she actually allow herself to step into the light? But then the nagging thought returned, would trusting Mark invite new disappointments? Just as she wrestled with this, a whisper of realization broke through. "It's not about being perfect," Sarah reminded herself. "It's about the journey." As they continued to play, laughter and joy echoing through the morning, Sarah felt a warmth bloom in her heart. But in the back of her mind, a nagging voice whispered of struggles yet to come. What would happen if she opened herself up, only to find heartbreak again? Would Mark stay with them on this ride, or would he vanish like so many others? As the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden rays across the playground, Sarah stood in that moment, rooted yet caught between hope and fear. Could she really learn to embrace the beauty of life with all its uncertainties, or would she remain confined by the shadows of her past? With the world around her awakening, the answers lingered just beyond her reach, teasing her like a hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed. And as Olivia clapped her little hands in delight, Sarah closed her eyes momentarily, breathing deeply, ready to confront whatever awaited her on this unpredictable journey. The sun climbed higher as the golden rays poured into the park, dancing on the grass like playful children. Sarah watched Olivia, lost in her own vibrant world as she spun around in circles, petals flying from her small hands. The sight sent a rush of warmth through Sarah, but her thoughts twisted like the playful wind. Trust. It was a word she had used with caution too often. What if I just let go? She murmured under her breath, just loud enough for Mark to hear. His brow furrowed, and he stepped closer. Letting go can be liberating, Mark replied softly. But it's also frightening. You just have to remember you're not in this alone. Sarah met his gaze, searching for reassurance. There was something in his eyes and honesty that almost soothed the anxiety swirling inside her. Olivia giggled, crashing into the grass after a dramatic twirl. She sat up, her chubby hands grasping blades of grass as if they were treasures to be examined. A smile tugged at Sarah's lips. See? She's got a spirit as wild as the wind. Mark said, watching Olivia's delight. Sarah chuckled, imagining her daughter as a small tornado, spinning through life with relentless joy. Yet, the image triggered a worry. What if that wind swept her away? But what happens when the world gets too big for her? Mark turned serious, his jaw tightening just slightly. That's where you come in, Sarah. She'll look to you for guidance. If she knows you're strong and dependable, she'll know how to navigate her way through it. His words resonated, bringing clarity in a way that Sarah hadn't anticipated. But just as hope flickered, dread washed over her. And if I fail her? Failing is part of living, Mark said, eyes steady. What matters is how you rise after. You both have each other. That's a solid foundation. But what if Sarah, he interrupted gently, worrying about what could happen will only hold you back. You've already taken a brave step by being here, facing these thoughts. She nodded slowly, absorbing his encouragement like sunlight breaking through the clouds. For the first time in a long time, she felt herself begin to crack open, the barriers of her heart under strain. Then Olivia stumbled, her foot catching the edge of a swing. Sarah gasped, rushing toward her. But before she could reach, Mark was already there, catching her, his hands firm and protector-like. Olivia looked up, a mix of confusion and relief flashing across her face. Did I fall? She asked, her innocence untouched. Just a little bump, Mark replied with a reassuring smile. But look who's here to help. Sarah's heart swelled as she watched Mark lift Olivia, kissing her cheek with such care that for a moment, it felt as if they were a family. But then apprehension flickered in Sarah's heart again. Would this moment be fleeting? Could Mark sustain this gentleness in the long run? She wrestled with doubts while keeping her smile intact for Olivia. As the afternoon warmth settled around them, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was on the horizon. The atmosphere buzzed with an unspoken tension, thick as honey. Her pulse quickened with anticipation, sounding in her ears like a distant drum. "Sarah," Mark said, drawing her back into the moment. "Whatever happens, I'm here for you. Let us navigate this together." Just then, a shadow fell over them, and Sarah's gaze shifted upward to see a man, dressed in a sharp suit, stepping into their small world. He looked out of place like $1 million bill in a pocket of coins. "Excuse me," he said, his tone cool but curious. I couldn't help but notice heart racing. Sarah held her breath. What was this unexpected twist? Before she could respond, she felt the air shift around them, possibilities expanding like a vibrant canvas waiting for the first brushstroke. Would this encounter lead to something new, an opportunity? Or would it unravel the delicate progress she had just begun to embrace? As the stranger opened his mouth to continue, Sarah's heart pounded with a mix of hope and fear, sensing that this moment would change everything. The man's sharp suit shimmered under the sun like a beacon, pulling Sarah from her thoughts. His eyes, sharp yet soft, surveyed her and Olivia, calculating yet somehow intrigued. "I couldn't help but notice the joyful moment you're sharing here," he said, his voice smooth. "I'm Samuel. I run a foundation focused on supporting families like yours." Sarah's heart skipped. Could he really mean families like theirs? A foundation? Offering support? The words felt heavy, loaded with both promise and uncertainty. Mark stiffened beside her, shifting his weight. "So what does that mean exactly?" Sarah asked, hesitantly. "I'm looking for individuals who have a story to tell," Samuel replied, glancing at Olivia with an approving smile. "It seems you both radiate warmth and authenticity. I believe it can resonate with many people out there. Would you be interested in sharing your experiences?" Sarah exchanged glances with Mark, a mix of intrigue and caution swirling inside her. It was tempting, the thought of having a voice, of being seen and heard. But what would it cost? "Sharing our story, it sounds a bit overwhelming," she managed, trying to process the idea. "Overwhelming can lead to the best things in life," Samuel offered, his smile unwavering. "So many people out there are yearning for connection. You might inspire them, give them hope." Sarah's thoughts twisted. Inspiration. Hope. Two words that felt almost foreign to her right now. She saw Olivia still clutching the blades of grass, her innocence shining brightly. Would sharing their journey tarnish that light? "What's in it for you?" Mark interjected, a protective flicker in his tone. "Why do you care about Sarah and Olivia specifically?" Samuel's gaze flickered between them, then softened. "What's in it for me? It's simple. I've seen what it's like to feel alone, struggling to make it through. And I want to change that for as many people as I can." For a moment, silence stretched. The laughter of other children played in the background, a reminder of carefree days. But Sarah could hear her heart thumping in her ears. Was this a chance to break the barriers she had built around their lives? Or was it a trap disguised as hope? "Can we think about it?" Sarah finally asked, searching Samuel's face. "Of course," he replied, genuinely patient. "Just know the world can't see shining stars if they hide in the shadow." With that, he began to step back, but paused once more. "I'll be in the park every day this week. Don't hesitate to reach out." And then he was gone, blending into the bustling backdrop as suddenly as he had arrived. Sarah looked over at Mark, who was watching her intently. "What do you think?" he asked, his voice steady, but she could see the whirlwind of thoughts behind his composed exterior. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Part of me feels scared, but another part wants to reach for it. To let her know she has a voice. Mark nodded, contemplating her words. That's a big step. And it'll take courage. I know, she sighed, looking at Olivia, who was now weaving her fingers through the grass again, blissfully unaware of the world and its complexities. In that moment, Sarah realized something that unsettled her. The decision ahead of her wasn't just about herself or even Olivia, it was about who she was becoming. Each choice would be a brushstroke on the canvas of their lives, painting a future she could hardly envision. The afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the park. Something pivotal was brewing on the edge of her heart. Would she have the courage to embrace this opportunity, or would fear whisper louder than her dreams? As the first stars began to flicker in the evening sky, Sarah felt the weight of a decision press upon her. But one question lingered in her mind, igniting a flame of uncertainty. What would she risk to find their spark among the shadows? The days slipped by in a whirlwind of uncertainty and newfound hope. Sarah's heart danced between fear and excitement, stuck on the precipice of a decision that felt monumental. Each day in the park with Mark and Olivia brought laughter, connection, and the gentle push she needed to embrace something bigger than herself. On the fifth day, Sarah woke with a renewed sense of conviction. The morning sun spilled through the window, igniting a fire within her chest. She knew she needed to respond. Olivia, today is special, she said, scooping up her daughter from the crib with determination. We're going to share our story. With joy bubbling inside, they made their way into the park. As they reached the swings, Sarah spotted Mark sitting on their usual bench, his usual coffee in hand, a comforting smile on his face. Good morning. He greeted, enthusiasm radiating from him. Mark, she said, breathless with excitement. I want to do it. I want to share our story. His face lit up, eyes sparkling with delight. Really? He said, standing up with a bounce. That's amazing. I'm proud of you. As they settled around the swings with Olivia giggling in a world of her own, the sound of their children playing encapsulated Sarah. The tension in her shoulders began to ease, washed away by the warmth of Mark's encouragement. Let's take that leap together, she said, feeling a courage she hadn't known was there. Mark nodded, his expression encouraging as they began discussing what it would mean to showcase their lives, the challenges, the victories, and the love that bound them. It felt invigorating, washing over her like a gentle wave, pulling her further into the embrace of possibility. Later that day, Samuel appeared. He approached with a kindness that made Sarah's heart flutter. I'm glad you came, he said, his presence filled with sincerity. I believe your story deserves to be told. Sarah felt her heart race. Thoughts raced through her mind. Would people understand? Would they truly see her for who she was? But just as those fears coiled tightly around her thoughts, Olivia squealed. She darted forward, arms stretched wide at the sight of a colorful kite soaring above them. Its vibrant colors danced against the endless blue sky, painting a picture of freedom. Sarah chuckled softly, momentarily lost in her daughter's delight. Look at that, Olivia. Just like you, so bold. With Samuel's encouragement, they began brainstorming how to share their journey. Each brainstorm sparked new ideas and opened doors. They captured the beauty of struggle and joy. It wouldn't just be Sarah's story, it would be an experience that connected them with others. As they mapped out plans for short videos and community events, Sarah found herself speaking with vigor. The words flowed, full of passion for the message she wanted to convey. It wasn't about pity, it was about resilience, hope, and forging new paths. Mark's support remained steady, wrapping around her like a lifeline. He crossed his arms, nodding as he listened intently, offering insights that only deepened their bond. One evening, after a grueling planning session, Sarah flopped onto the couch, exhaustion mixing with exhilaration. Mark sat beside her, a smile on his face. You're doing incredible work. It's inspiring to see you step into your light. Thank you for believing in me, she replied softly. Vulnerability hung in the air, layers of trust forming between them like a quilt. And then, as if summoned by her own words, Sarah met his gaze. "What about you, Mark? You've shared so much with us. What drives you?" Mark paused, considering her question. "I want to help others find their voice," he said at last, his expression earnest. "Just like you, I know what it's like to feel lost in the shadows. There's power in community, a strength that comes when we uplift each other." Her heart swelled, realizing she wasn't just sharing her story with the world, they were creating a place where others could feel heard and supported too. As days turned into weeks, Sarah stepped deeper into the spotlight, sharing snippets of her life regularly. The responses flooded in messages of thanks from those who resonated with her journey. It was beautiful and overwhelming all at once. Then one day, amidst the chaos of messages, a particularly touching comment caught Sarah's eye. "Thank you for reminding me I'm not alone. Your story has ignited hope in me." In that moment, everything clicked. The weight of her past fears began to dissipate, replaced with the warmth of genuine connection. She was not just a single mother, she was a symbol of resilience, a beacon for others navigating similar paths. And finally, a sense of clarity washed over her. She and Mark had forged something profound from their shared experiences. Trust began transforming into partnership, friendship blossomed into mutual understanding, the very foundation upon which they could build a future. Standing in the park one sunny afternoon, with laughter surrounding her and Mark beside her, Sarah felt ready for this beautiful uncertainty. She squeezed Olivia's hand and took a deep breath, the world before her bursting with colors and the promise of connection. Trust had been a challenge, but embracing it transformed everything. No longer chained to her fears, Sarah stood tall, ready to face whatever came next with a full heart and a radiant smile. Together, as they walked forward into the future, one filled with laughter, discovery, and love, they knew this was just the beginning of an extraordinary journey. Don't wait not even one more second. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. If you loved this transformation, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support us. Your thoughts matter, so comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending below. And remember to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. This is the moment to show your support and be a part of our amazing community.